We're all very familiar with the famous expression by U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis that says, sunlight is the best disinfectant. The notion is that simply exposing the behavior of your enemy to the public is enough to defeat them. That if through some act of transparency, if the public ever caught wind of any nefarious behavior, those guilty politicians, institutions, or government agencies would be forced to change in response to pressure. But after 30 years of talk radio, Fox News, the internet, alternative conservative media, and the conspiracy theory spheres, all collectively exposing the problems in real time, then why are the problems still with us? I mean, far from being a disinfectant, sunshine appears to be the most ineffective disinfectant we could have possibly turned to. As I keep saying, liberalism requires us to lie to ourselves and others about the very nature of reality in order to keep up the delusion. In this case, the delusion is that there is a substitute for disinfectant other than actual disinfectant. It turns out disinfectant is the best disinfectant. Exposure to injustice does not bring about justice. Daylight, in this context, is nothing more than rage bait, but it does not connect perpetrators to actual justice. What happened to all the people Jim Jordan grilled on the Senate floor? Absolutely nothing. We've all seen the footage of the streets of Philly or Skid Row. We've all seen the migrant convoys in small towns completely overrun by illegals. It's all been exposed to daylight. And now what? Why isn't it fixed? At a certain point, we have to realize that simply broadcasting the truth about what happened isn't a remedy to fix a problem. However, this is exactly what boomers think the solution is. They really think that all that is required is for someone to stand up and say how it is. You expose them for who they are, somebody will go, "Amen," and then boom, that's it. Your enemy is defeated. And this is why talk radio is so big for them. They're stars like Dana Lash. She says, "Oh, I'm going to tell the truth, and I don't give a damn if the left doesn't like it." And that's all she does. And everything is falling apart because this is not a solution. In other words, it's not a disinfectant. At a certain point, we need actual disinfectant. But you see, that's taboo. Ooh, we don't talk about that. The Nazis used actual disinfectant. Fascists use actual disinfectant. The left uses actual disinfectant. And we don't want to be like them. We don't want to actually win. They took over everything. But they're idiots, they're dumb, they're wrong. We just want to say stuff that makes us feel good. But we don't want to stoop to authoritarianism to make things happen. True right-wing disinfectant has been made completely off limits. This is what Thomas 77 means when he says that, Nuremberg made being right-wing illegal. This is actually why I got banned off of Twitter, because I exposed the natural disconnect between exposure and action. It was during the month of June, and libs of TikTok was sharing the most extreme clips of crazed LGBTQ fanatics. And somebody said, well, the only people spreading these clips are people on the right. That the only gay stuff they ever see is when people on the right share it, and they were tired of seeing it. And I responded that the purpose of these clips is not to glorify the gay community, it's to build up such a rage inside you that you go full and these people. Anyways, just remember that we have over 30 years of trying this failed method of using sunlight as disinfectant. All of mainstream conservative media has dedicated its existence to this cause. And what has it accomplished? Nothing. We have thrown ourselves into a permanent state of agony because now we know everything. But we can't do anything to bring about justice. There's nothing more of a curse than that. You are fully aware of the injustice that has been committed against you, and so is everyone else, but the perpetrators are allowed to run free because to actually serve justice to them is called fascism, authoritarianism, totalitarianism, nationalism, white supremacy, racism, anti-Semitism, every ism in the book. The problems we face today could be solved in about 20 minutes if we actually had the bravery and dedication and willpower to actually use real disinfectant instead of virtue signaling or simply exposing the problem. Because you see, the thing about late-stage corruption is that it doesn't care if it gets exposed because it's going to call your bluff. Yeah, so what? I'm doing this. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. This is the point I was trying to make in my video where I dissected Jordan Peterson's impassioned plea for the elites to reinstate his Twitter. I said this: the people who control the levers in our society, the leadership, that is to say the elite, have completely closed their doors to reason and good faith. They did not suspend Jordan in good faith, and it is delusional of him to think that they will restore it in good faith. People have tricked themselves, especially those on the mainstream right, into thinking that speaking truth to power, or correcting a lie told by a politician, is the ultimate death blow to the system. When in fact, the system is more than happy to have people like Ben Shapiro destroy them with facts and logic, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect them. Ben Shapiro will go back to his studio, and his opponent will go back to whatever institute they work for and decide the public policy that we all have to live under. They'll keep doing exactly what they want to do with no consequences because a rant on YouTube is not a consequence that matters to them. It's one of the foundational lies that Western democracy was built on. That if enough people rise up and make their voices heard, that things will change. We keep acting as if we just tell the truth and expose the lies, and then our society will be fixed. The whole notion of disinfecting daylight is that our leaders would step down due to pressure from the public, or even a sense of shame, or feeling dishonor. But that never happens, does it? That's the delusion. Our government can be exposed for doing the most horrific things imaginable, and no one ever gets fired, no one ever steps down, and no one ever faces the consequences because it's a big game where they call our bluff and say, "What are you going to do about it?" In practice, disinfecting daylight looks like Jim Jordan grilling Anthony Fauci on the Senate floor, but it all falls flat. Okay, you've exposed him as a criminal. Now what? Well, now Fauci goes free. There's obviously a disconnect between what the exposing is meant to do. Right now, it just generates clips online and makes us all mad. But in practice, it needs to drive our elites to action. This is what Aaron called for after Trump's sham conviction. Because we're all tired of the sunlight. We need actual disinfectant. We need better living through chemicals. Or better government. Better governance through chemicals. Maybe that's not the best way to say that. But there's no more debates. There's no more arguments to be had. There's no more exposing the left for who they really are. Yeah, we already know. They've already been disinfected. Whatever. They've already had the sunshine on them and they're thriving. What are you going to do about it? The right is just stuck in this retarded content cul-de-sac where we just go around in circles forever, where they come up with clips to make you mad and go, yeah, that's right, she said it, Dana Lash, she doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks, she's telling the left like it is, whoa, girl boss. Well, we don't need that. We need people to go to jail. We need people to be exiled from this country. We need whole groups of people expelled. We need illegals to go back. We need people to go to prison. We don't need exposure anymore. We already know what they are. We already know what they do. We already know what they think about us. We know everything that there is to know. There's no more exposure. There's no more daylight. There's no more nothing. I'm at the point where if your political ideology doesn't involve severe retribution and revenge for what they did to us, for what they've done to our country, for what they continue to do, then I'm not interested. I don't care. It's completely pointless to me. You know how in the Old Testament, God called on the Israelites to kill all the young boys, even the babies, to grab them by their legs and smash their heads against the rocks? That's what God wanted. That's horrific. But if you were really to invade a town and you were to kill all the old women and the men, and keep all the girls and young girls as sex slaves, but you kept the little boys alive, well, guess what? They grow up to be resentful for what you did, and therefore dangerous. That's where I'm at. I'm one of those young boys who grew up to realize that my country was taken over and they destroyed everything about my past. They hate me and everything I stand for, and if they could kill me and my family, they probably would. They don't need to be exposed anymore because I know exactly who they are. I was there. I lived it. We're past that point. We have to move on to the next stage, which is becoming dangerous to them, which I think we are. Imagine the hubris required to think that you could just take over a society that super smart white men built and not think that we won't scheme of some way to take it back from you. That's the real disinfectant. But we have to embrace it and reject the old, dumb, boomer, conservative ways of thinking that predominate our culture now. Otherwise, we're just going to stay in this loop for eternity. Anyways, that's all the time I have for today. If you enjoyed this video and type of content that I'm making, consider giving this video a like or maybe subscribing to the channel. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.